Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am thrilled today to have the founder of House Pickleball. We're diving right into pickleball. It's the time to do it. But I've got Mark Vermylen here with me, and Mark, welcome. And I'm excited to jump
Thank you.
into what you've created.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm really excited to get on the Conversation Series podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's jump in.
Awesome, awesome. I first just want to go through your background because you went to Georgetown. You were, political science and government major at Georgetown, and have experience in account executive. Like, how did you switch roles to then become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so my political science background, I guess it's one of those things where when I graduated, basically, if you want to pursue a career in political science, you're already in DC, you should really stay in DC. But
Yes.
I'm from New Jersey originally, always had plans on coming to New York City, the big city.
Yeah.
I was trying to thread the needle for a little bit of time, like maybe I could find like a political type of job in New York City,
Yeah.
but it's just much tougher than DC.
Yes.
So I found myself in sales, in tech sales, which is kind of famously a career that will take people from all walks of life, just as long as you're willing to like work hard. So that's how I ended up going from a poli sci major to being an account executive.
Nice, nice. And so hopping right into house pickleball, I mean, you jumped right into the game, the sport that is absolutely capturing the country right now and is spreading all over the place. First of all, like what caught your interest and your attention with pickleball?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing tennis, so I've always just had an affinity for paddle and racket sports.
Okay.
I guess I kind of realized since I've lived in the city for about 4 years now that I never played tennis in New York City.
Totally.
Um, so seeing how people like literally everywhere in the city now, you see people playing
Yeah.
pickleball just wherever on any random corner in public parks. So when I just heard first the name stood out to me, I was like, what is this sport that everyone's playing?
Yeah.
It seems a lot like tennis, just on a smaller scale. But that was kind of what really caught my eyes, just the accessibility of it. Like you don't have to go rent out, a space somewhere. It just seemed way easier to actually get out there and play without like making a whole day out of it.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say would really caught my attention at first.
I was just having a conversation with somebody. I was like, every neighborhood now, on top of the tennis courts that they have, now are putting in pickleball courts, and it's like it's just everywhere you go, no matter what, there is a pickleball court for somebody to play on now.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really just been rapidly expanding. When I started, I felt like they were already everywhere.
Yes.
And I felt like in starting the business, I was late to the party, but it has just continued growing at this crazy rate.
Yeah. Now, with your tennis background, do you understand all the rules and, everything to pickleball? Because I grew up playing tennis too. I have family that plays pickleball, but I'm like, you've got me on some of these things.
Oh yeah. At first I didn't, but at this point I do. I have to because I do a lot of like kind of coaching and like I work a lot with beginners to get them up to speed just on the rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I first started out, it was like very confounding to me coming. I thought it would be more like tennis, but yeah, there are some of those big different rules that,
Yes.
can really confuse people the first couple times out.
Yeah, I still remember when I first heard of pickleball and somebody said in the kitchen. I said, "I'm sorry. What are we talking about right now?" I'm like, "Where do you
Exactly.
get in the kitchen for pickleball?" But I've slowly started to learn. My grandfather plays religiously, and he's a state champion here in North Carolina, and so like the family's been forced to kind of learn and be the cheerleaders of the family.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. It's a sport that's really like trickled down from the older generation. Sometimes or usually it's like the other way around, but like this one is it's kind of something that everyone is now recognizing that it has utility for every type of person.
Yes, I think to your point, it started like the older generation was the one who was playing it. Everybody was like, "It's an old people game. Like, why are we wanting to play this?" And then it caught fire, and everybody's playing pickleball now. Even college, like young college kids, and even kids before that. So, it totally agree with you.
Yeah, it's very popular on like college campuses and with like high schoolers. I notice a lot of our followers on Instagram have like MSU 25 or something in their bio. I'm like, oh wow, it's like we're really reaching a younger audience here.
Before we get into house pickleball, like have you done like demographic study or anything on, to your point, on who is kind of buying from you guys? Like what is the age range? What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, so I'd say the extent of looking at the demographics, I mostly look at like the Instagram analytics and then
Totally.
just anecdotally our customers.
Yeah.
If I can get an age on them, it's geographically, it's all over the country. Like I get orders from North Dakota, Wyoming,
Oh,
and it is mostly people in that 18 to 35 age range because that's what we're kind of targeting for. Is like a younger generation of pickleball players to kind of ease that, bringing it down from the older generation, something that would catch the eye of people in their 20s and 30s who want to play this game, but maybe feel like it is still just for older people.
yeah.
So definitely, even though we're kind of like a city-based brand, we have customers from very small towns all across the country.
Very
And
cool.
it really is mostly that 18 to 35 group.
Well, hopping right into to House, like what is the creation story behind House? What was the kickoff for it all?
I guess the first inciting event was last summer, 2022. I got laid off from my tech sales job. I had taken a little bit of a risk, went to a Series D startup. They hired a bunch of people. 6 months later, they fired a bunch of people. We all know how that goes.
Yes.
So it was the middle of the summer, and I had already before that been feeling a little bit burned out by tech sales ever since COVID. You know, working remote just didn't have that same like in person atmosphere. So I already kind of had my eye on doing something of my own. But so when that layoff happened, it was really like kind of a kick in the ass. Like, all right, well now's the time to do it. So I ordered maybe 100 or 200 of our first paddles, and I just started bringing them to the courts, inviting friends down to play on like Sundays, taking some pictures, taking some videos. I figured this is how a brand starts. You just kind of got to do it, lead the way and like see what comes from there. And that's kind of how it happened.
Most of the time the paddles that we see, they're black. They're kind of the standard that we're seeing, but you went a different direction. You're colorful. You have, I think it's your bread and butter is what you call it. How did you decide or focus specifically on creating these unique and colorful paddles?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to create something that had a bold and classic look. I actually have one right here. Here's our barb paddle
I
with the
love
pink
that.
colorway.
Yeah.
Um, I really like the straight lines and everything, and like just something that's like very clean looking.
Yeah.
That was kind of how it all came together. You're right. Our first one was the bread and butter, and that's the
Yeah.
green with the white stripes. Definitely inspired by New York City. Green's my favorite color. Kind of looks like maybe like the street signs that
Yeah.
you'd see here. So a couple of those elements infused, and we had a paddle.
And what I love about what you were just describing too, and that you took, like, you got the paddles, you took them down to the courts, you invited people, you took photos, you've integrated with the community, and you do events, you do things like that. But how have you integrated yourself really into the community to make house a thing on the courts?
Yeah, it really is just about showing up day after day, meeting people, like, and actually truly living it. Like, I never want to be just someone, sitting behind a computer, running Facebook ads, like, buy this product. Like, to me, there's lots of paddle brands out there, but if you're not really driving people to play in like an actual way, whether it's like the events we posted.
Yeah.
It just doesn't mean as much. So just being a pickleball player in New York City, like there's such a great community here. Like meeting new people all the time and connect me to other people. Like that's how it really all comes together.
Have you heard from people like, hey, I would love to have a blue paddle or an orange paddle, and you're kind of like, all right, take it as a mental note.
No, that's exactly how this one came about. Actually, the pink. We used to have the green and white,
Yeah.
and a lot of women said to me would love a pink paddle. Same design, just pink. And I was like, sure, yep, of course, like this makes sense. And then it was this summer when there was all the hype leading up to the Barbie movie. It was like 3 or 4 weeks from the release. I just like got the light bulb in my head. I was like, oh, now is the time. I gotta like quickly order these, get them in. So we did that through a party with the pink paddles and everything, and like that was how that came about. So that's a great example of how like the community drives like the product. Like you
Yeah.
just got to listen to what people want.
And what is in your mindset, like where do you see the growth of House Pickleball going? Like what do you want to do next with House?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think long term, I
Yeah.
want it to be really an all encompassing pickleball brand, not just paddles, not just lifestyle even, but we had some great success so far this summer and this fall throwing events like really growing that community aspect. I think long term, I would love to have a space here in New York City with courts
Cool.
that is like a house facility where
Yeah.
you can just come down and play. Like that's really how I see it. Big picture is
Yeah.
like an all inclusive pickleball brand.
Will there be a pickleball court in the office? That's the question.
Oh, 100%. It will be more the question is, will there be an office in the pickleball court?
Okay,
Like
that's true.
maybe I'll just be over in the corner, like 95 of the space will be just 95% will just be pickleball courts.
Love it. I love it. Will you walk me through, you were talking about it, you put in these orders for the paddles, but in terms of going from design to ordering these and producing, what does that look like?
Yeah, so our paddles are sourced from Shenzhen in China. So
Okay.
the first step was um, identifying a really good supplier, doing the evaluations because when you come at it cold and you don't really know who's making what, it's like I know what I want the actual like mechanics of the paddle to be. So that was step one. Once we had that, it was setting up with a fulfillment center here in where our fulfillment center is in New Jersey.
Okay.
Um, I didn't want to be shipping them out of my apartment just because I'm not very good at I've never been very good at like sending packages myself and like putting the labels on stuff.
Yes.
And I figured we might as well just start day one like with that operation in place. And then from there it was just setting up the website. Our website, we actually just did a nice redesign. When I look back at the older versions where we started, I'm like amazed people were even buying from us then because it looked so rudimentary and basic, but maybe they kind of like the charm of it. I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, those are I guess the three major components. Like, and once you have that, it's really just about what you build around it in terms of community content.
I think from having conversations with other people, like finding that right supplier is one of the biggest steps to take, but it's also one of the biggest challenges. I think to your point that you just made, like you want to find the right one and make sure that they're doing right by you as well. And it's such a
It's
difficult.
crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that relationship. I have a great relationship with our supplier at this point, and it has been instrumental in being able to scale up the business
Yes.
in terms of the amounts we're ordering. And I'm actually right now looking for the same type of relationship with an apparel supplier. So that's
Oh,
kind of the next step.
very cool. Getting some merch together and stuff like that.
Yep, it got
Nice.
to do it right though. I
Yeah.
gotta, it's gotta be, gotta
Yeah.
be the highest quality.
Yeah, totally. Well, and it made me chuckle a little bit when you were saying the fulfillment side. It made me think about what you were telling me beforehand with your apartment. I can only imagine the apartment that you were describing to me, you fulfilling orders.
Yeah, I used and I had a roommate last year, and I
Yeah.
just don't think it would have worked with us sharing the apartment and having 100 boxes of paddles in
Just
there.
paddles everywhere.
Yeah, I was like, let's just and that's something that usually the
Yeah,
e-commerce stories. Oh, I started in my basement or my garage. I was like,
totally.
let's assume we'll have some success and just skip that step and
Yeah.
just hand that part off to the professionals. And it's worked so smoothly. Like I could not be happier.
I want to transition and just hear some key things or some things that people have told you that you maybe have taken that advice or not taken that advice, but just what you've learned about yourself, business, and more stepping into entrepreneurship and creating House Pickleball.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing, and some people have told me this now that we've got some followers on Instagram, have had some traction with sales, is just to always be confident in what you're building because sometimes it's hard to see from the inside. At one point it was literally just me. I was like posting into the void on Instagram, or maybe just my mom and dad were liking the pictures, and now it's a little bit bigger than that. People, I see our repeat audiences, people who really get a lot of value, even if they haven't bought a paddle, just from
Yeah.
seeing what's going on in the community. So I definitely need to keep telling myself that sometimes, like, just keep going. Like, people want to hear from you. Sometimes when you're making content, you're like, oh, does anybody want this? But like, you just got to trust that the people are showing up for you like that. It's because they want it. It's not always just because they want to support you. It's because you're giving them some value.
Yeah, well, and it's funny that you say that because sometimes when you're posting to the point you just made, you're like, are people actually going to see this? And sometimes you have that doubt, and then you post, and people are like, I needed to see this, or this was so cool, and you're kind of like, okay, that validation that yeah, this was
Mm-hmm.
exactly what I needed to do, or this, I'm so glad that I did this. It's that seesaw back in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Once you get some traction with, like, a video you make, or like a post, your first post that gets over like 100 likes or something, like it you really feel that, and it like just kind of drives you forward. And the other thing is, I and a lot of people are scared. Oh, I don't want to put myself out there to no fanfare. But
Yes.
the thing I told myself was, well, if no one likes it or sees it, then it's like it didn't happen anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's all
so
right.
if you have a post that bombs, no one's seen it anyway because it bombed.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's there, but nobody's really paying attention. It's all right.
Yeah,
Um,
just keep going.
yes, absolutely. Are you still a one man show yourself, or are you looking to bring on new people? Are you have people with you right now?
Yeah, so I'm the only full-time employee of House, but I do have a mentor and a partner. So we were actually at that old company that we both got laid off. And so that was another big piece of, he brought a lot of e-commerce experience to the table.
Yeah,
We now have, I contract for some SEO writing because we have a bunch of blogs about the
yeah,
best places to play pickleball around the country, as well, Madison, who reached out to you, and
yeah,
Haley Brooke Weiss of Power
yeah.
Moves Marketing. Shout out. They're another great example of not full-time employees, but helping us with the mission. So yeah, that's been another great thing, is just being able to, as it's grown, having the budget to put towards working with more people.
Totally. I think it's the most important thing, because I think when you work with those people as well, you get other opinions, you get other ideas, you get inspiration from those people that maybe you just might not have had the bandwidth to do it with, or maybe just not thought of. But I think the working with those types of people is incredibly important, and I value that so much too.
Yeah, you just get more advocates for what you're doing, and more people who believe in that mission and just help and push you forward.
Yep, word of mouth, the most important thing in the world.
Exactly.
Mark, my last question for you is just what inspires you?
That's a great question. I would say, honestly, right now, it is sounds cheesy, but it is the community and it is New York City as a whole. Like I haven't traveled much in the past year because I'm just here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here playing pickleball and just seeing the different ways in this sport can get people to come together, make new friends. Like I've literally seen friend groups just form. Like I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Just like I think we're still kind of living in this backwash of the pandemic, and
Really.
there's so much new growth that can happen out of what was maybe stopped or cut down
Yeah.
when that disruption happened. But every day, obviously, there's a lot I'm working on just with the technical stuff of the e-commerce site. But I'm just always trying to get out there, play pickleball, meet new people, and evangelize the brand a little bit.
I think to the point you were just saying, like community and networking and meeting people is some of the most important things you can do for your business and for yourself. I've preached networking to people ever since I was in college because it is just one of the most important things you can do, just to get your name out there, like you were talking about, your company's mission, and it's incredibly important.
Yeah, I'm lucky to be in a space where it actually comes naturally. If I
Well,
had I think it's a little bit harder to build community around like a skincare product or
yeah,
something because that's an activity you do by yourself. So this pickleball lends itself to
yeah,
networking and building community. So
yeah.
it really helps in that regard.
Yes, yeah. I mean, people will just flood around a pickleball court and just hang out for hours and hours, and just it's the
Yeah,
best thing.
And the other thing I was thinking about is like some people like to just play. Like I was playing the other night, and like there wasn't a ton of chatter on the court
Yeah,
because it's like a Tuesday night, everyone's tired from work, and it's like but people just want to play.
yeah,
And even if you're not like actively like, oh, what's your name, like trying to figure out
really.
everything about the person, just physically being there,
Yeah,
moving your body with other people, even if there's an unspoken, there's not many words being
yeah,
spoken, it's still really I think it's just really good for you,
yeah.
regardless of how you treat it.
I totally agree. It's kind of like it's a mix for me of ping pong and Twitter. It's the in tennis, it's the fast back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
quickly watching. But it gets your heart rate up. You feel good. You get your competitive spirit out, and I love the game, and I'm so glad it's here and sweeping the country.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good summation of it.
Well, Mark, I can't thank you enough for joining me today and setting the stage for House Pickleball, and introducing yourself. And if you guys do not follow House Pickleball, if you're a pickleball fan, go get yourself one of the house paddles. But all of Mark's socials and House's socials are going to be linked down below. So please go give them a follow. But Mark, I just thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.